the artists will be downstairs for fellowship after the event, so please join us after the performance.
Great, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I just have one request just before we start. With regards to recording this concert, you have full permission to record me at the piano, but just due to representation of the soloists and the ladies, there's not permission to record them. Okay, so I know I'm not very attractive, so just blur that out and just go for the sound. It is a delight to be here with you this afternoon. I just want to talk a little bit about music and culture, and then we'll start right in on the concert. You know, I love playing in these beautiful, beautiful spaces, but it reminds me of once when I started out. I was playing in a beautiful church like this, and there was a lady in the front row who had a baby. It was great. I started to play, the baby started to cry. Perfect. So I turned up the volume, the baby cried even louder. I got louder, the baby got louder. Finally, the mother had enough. She got up, she started walking out. I said, "No, ma'am, you don't have to leave. Your child's not bothering me." She said, "No, but you're bothering my child." Then she kept going. So you never know what you're going to get. My friends, just a little introduction about music. First of all, these three young women that are performing with me are just masters at their instruments. And I'm very, very honored to have them perform my music today. We live in a very interesting time when it comes to music, when it comes to art. Never before have we had such hyper exposure to music like we do now. When I was young and you wanted to listen to music, you had to go through the huge inconvenience of, first of all, convincing your parents to give you $20 to buy an album of music that they didn't want to hear. And you had to go when the record store was open. And then you had to buy that record and put it on a turntable and sit in that room. And now my son just did a year of mission work in Peru, and within 5 minutes he was introduced to Peruvian folk music, downloaded it onto his phone at 3 in the morning, and then shipped it to me halfway across the world. We have exposure to any style of music anytime. Which begs the question, what is music? Is it just entertainment? Is it harmless? Is it okay for people to download whatever they want and have this exposure? I'll just share with you a couple of quotes. Confucius said, "If you want to know the morality of a nation," he said, "let me hear the music." He didn't say, "let me read the textbooks or talk to the philosophers." He said, "let me hear the music." There is something about music. I believe music is a language that talks to the heart and mind and soul and reaches the person on a much deeper level than words can ever touch. And it is in that vein, my friends, that I compose. So all the works that you're going to hear this afternoon are works that I've composed. This first piece is a piano, violin, cello trio. This is called Rebellion. it's Panis Angelicus. So it's a sacred text, and this text was written 1,000 years ago. Now this text has come to mean a great deal to us personally, and also as a society. But personally, what does that mean? We want this sung at our weddings. We want these sung at our anniversaries. Many, many great composers have written music to Panis Angelicus. Just a thought. This great sacred narrative is sublime. It's mystical. But if you notice, they think it's St. Thomas Aquinas, but he wrote it in a style of poetry. Why poetry? Because of what it's talking about. It's talking about something that reaches man far deeper than just the words or a description of the bread of angels. Panis Angelicus means the bread of angels, but it's really trying to communicate something that feeds the heart, mind, and soul. And so it's written as a poem, because a poetry is beauty. And beauty connects far deeper. And the beauty surrounding these great words, and that envelop these great words, uplift as the reader, or as those who are exposed to this great poetry. It uplifts them, and they're able to, in an appropriate way, internalize that poetry much deeper. That's the purpose of art, and that's the purpose of music. It's always meant to uplift the human condition, transcend the imperfect, and always point to the perfect. So these words are written 1,000 years ago, and the music I finished just a few years ago. This piece is Panis Angelicus. called Mercy. Now, I started writing this piece about 2 years ago. And I know that a year ago, the Pope named this year of Mercy. So I was very honored that he named his year of Mercy after my commemoration. I wrote this piece, Mercy, because I find mercy to be very complex. It's something that I personally struggle with a great deal. I was performing in South Florida, and there was a family, and they were my host. And the man told me this story. He said, my father-in-law just recently passed away. He said, 30 years ago, my father-in-law started this business, was wildly successful, and then he soon after that invited his son to join the business. Now they're both wildly successful. The son became a little aggressive business-wise. The father cut him out, and they never spoke for 30 years. The father is now dying. He is beyond sick. He hasn't sat up for months. He hasn't sat up really for weeks, and he was in and out of consciousness for the last little while. But more out of consciousness than in consciousness, and so he was dying. The son paid a visit to his father. The mother didn't think it was a good idea, but she eventually relented. He walked into the room. The father sat up and looked at the son and said, what are you doing here? Father lay down and he died. It's tough. It's tough. And we can all look at the father and we can say, oh, that was horrible. How could you do that? But in all honesty, what could the father have done? He could have turned to his son and said, you know what, I forgive you. But really in his heart, not really forgive. He might have said it in order to keep the peace, in order to save the moment, but really in his heart, did he forgive? Which struck me, because we all know stories of people that have, two brothers that haven't spoken for 20 years. We all know those stories. But the question is, then what is forgiveness? And because we come from backgrounds, very often, in the Catholic faith, in the Christian faith, we say the Our Father, and we come from backgrounds and we would assume, oh, we're just naturally, we just naturally have this great gift to forgive. No, we don't. We don't. It's tough. And I'll give you an example. In my own life, there are names that you can mention that will cause me to go like this. I want to forgive, I hope to forgive, I pray to forgive, I wish to forgive, I don't forgive. Tough. And so it invites you to ask the same question. There are situations and people in your own life, could be family members, could be close people, that maybe cause your blood pressure to rise a little bit. I think forgiveness, when one offends another, I think you have to it's sort of like a young girl, when a young girl is dating a young boy and he says, I love you, and she's over the moon with joy. And then he comes back a week later and says, I don't think I love you anymore, and her heart's broken. And then she starts building walls so that it never happens again. That's a very natural and normal thing to do. It's not a good thing to do, but it's very normal. And we all do it. And I think, how many walls have I built up in my life that prevent me from entering deeper relationships with my children, or with my wife, or with my friends, or get in the way of my music? How many walls? And I think when it comes to forgiveness, it means breaking those walls and going to the one that offends you, whether they want forgiveness or not, but suggesting that their dignity as a human being is more important and more relevant than my walls and my pain. I'm not there. But I think that's what forgiveness really demands. Not easy. Demands, I forgive them, they forgive me. It also demands, I forgive myself. Now that's not easy, because we all have expectations of our own life. And when we break them, we don't forgive. It's not a natural state. Oh, I forgive myself. No, we whip ourselves and we carry around our suffering in this black box. And we conclude, if you knew really who I am, you would never accept me. There's this whole concept of lack of forgiveness. Mercy is complex. This piece is mercy. This next piece is a vocal and a violin duo. This piece is promised. There are no words to this piece, and so please don't feel sorry for the singer thinking she forgot the words. There's no words. I just wanted to write a piece that shows the beauty of the human voice. This piece is promise. Thank you, my friends. We have one more piece for you this afternoon. It was such a delight to perform for you. Just a couple of words of business. I do have CDs available downstairs, so I've made arrangements for you to have all of your Christmas shopping done today. I have 5 different CDs. I was fortunate to go and perform and record with the Slovak National Symphony Orchestra. And so I have 3 full orchestral, 1 piano violin, and 1 vocal. Just a couple of thoughts before we close. Number 1, I go in and I perform in a lot of different venues. So I perform in concert halls, I perform in churches, I perform in homes, I perform in schools, I perform in inner city schools, I perform in hospitals, I perform for vets, and I perform in a lot of prisons. And as long as they keep letting me out, I keep going back in. And we've played a number of prisons. I've been on tour now for about 10 days, and then before that, another 10 days, prior to that. And we've played in several prisons. And I just want to share with you a couple of thoughts and a couple of stories. One of the first times I ever played in a prison, this man, now I put my speakers in here. When I'm in a prison, I put them about 3 times as loud. I don't ever want to compete for their attention. And this man in the second row stands up, throws up his arms, and he yells out above my speakers, "I forgot what hope felt like." It's interesting he used the word hope, but I noted that. I thought that was a strong reaction. Now he's in there for 60 years. It's not like he's doing this for good behavior. A little while after that, I was performing in a prison in South Florida. And this story I will never forget. There was a man at the back. And I'm there talking to these men, and I'm sharing jokes and all kinds of things, and he wasn't clapping or laughing. He was just standing there. And at the end of the concert, he walks to the microphone, because I have free question and answer at the end of those concerts, and he stood up and he said, "I've been in here most of my life, and this concert almost made it worth it." Now, that's too strong. I appreciate the compliment, it's too strong. And then he said, "I've had no control over my emotions the last hour and a half." And then he says, "What is it?" He's searching. He's trying to figure out what's going on. His psychologist comes running up and says, "I've been trying to get him to speak for 3 years. I can't get him to speak." And yet after an hour and a half, you get him to speak. The last story I want to share, just a few weeks ago, we were here playing in a federal prison. And this one man at the back says, "Thank you for giving me back my humanity. Thank you for making me feel like a human being." Too strong. A couple months ago, I was in South Texas performing in another prison. Now, there's 2 things that strike me in these prisons. One is when I meet an older gentleman, and they tell me, and they're maybe in their 80s or 70s, and they say, "I've been in here since I was 19. And then the other is the opposite. When you meet a 19-year-old and you know that they're not going anywhere very fast. So this one boy comes up to me, maybe 19, and he has tattoos all over. The tattoos are of demons and hellfire. Up here, on his chin, upside down pentagram on his eye, 666 here, every symbol, it's there. There's no guessing what is important to this young person. And he tells me, I've been involved in satanic activity since I was 11, and I'll never change. I said, okay. And then he says, I've had 3 of my family members die this year, my closest family members. I'm sad about it, but I don't cry. I said, I'm really sorry to hear that. And he goes on, I never cry. I don't ever remember crying. And then he starts to cry. And he says, I cried throughout the concert. Why am I crying? My friends, when I walk into this church, I am amazed by the beauty. You look at the painting up there that I've been staring at for a long time. You look at all the beautiful work that has gone on. You look at the organ, it's phenomenal. When you walk into these prisons, there is absolutely nothing in any way that would be uplifting. Nothing that would say, oh, it builds up on humanity. Nothing. There is nothing inspiring, nothing beautiful, nothing at all. And yet maybe for the first time, these men have encountered beauty through the magnificent playing of the soloists. And it's touched them in ways that they've never been moved before. And they're reacting and they're trying to figure it out. Beauty plays such an important role in our culture, and it brings dignity to the human person, which after all is what this day is all about. We have to recognize that everything will be in the garbage one day, but not people. It's a different level. And the level of dignity in their situation is no different than my situation. So they always ask me, why do you come in here? And then I turn it on that. Well, I first tell them a joke. I say I was on my way to a convent and I made a wrong turn. But then once we get past all that, I ask them why I shouldn't come in there. Why shouldn't I go in there? Are they any less of a person? I know they've done tough things. I fully understand that. But it really shows me something. That whether you're incarcerated or whether you're free, the human heart craves beauty. They crave beauty. So people say, oh, what do you think of reform? The only thing I have to say about reform is that you cannot strip beauty from an individual and then say, go ahead, now behave like a human being. It's impossible because we crave it. There is something deep. We all live functional lives, right? We all clean our houses. We all go to the grocery store. We shower. We do functional things. That's good. That's important. But then there's a whole level of existence beyond function. And that is the existence of who we really are. And that needs to be moved. And the language of that is beauty. So I will play. And I will play, and I will play for them, and I will play as long as I have air in my lungs to play. But it is so important to recognize the dignity of all. There is a whole population that I call the forgotten, that we've become very comfortable forgetting about, like these prisoners. Those in inner city schools. I played at an inner city school in Cincinnati. It was great fun, kindergarten to third grade. Once I started, I was just sort of fooling around with the kids, and then they started talking to the teachers, and I said, oh, I played for those who are incarcerated. This 5-year-old boy stands up and says, I wonder if you played for my dad. That's their reality. They're the forgotten. We can't. We have to extend all of us in them, which brings me to my last song. This last piece is a piece called Here I Am. It's a little love song for me and my daughter. My daughter's 12. She has Down syndrome. She has Down syndrome. Now, here's what's interesting about her and about me. We were playing in a hospital one time, playing music. I take my children in, we go and we play. And there was a woman in hysterics, just crying. And I told my children, we're going to walk past this woman and honor her privacy. And my children did, but not her. She went right up to this woman and very awkwardly embraced her, because Down syndrome children, they have poor muscle tone, and then started weeping just as hard. My daughter saw something and saw a pain in that woman that I've become callous to. Speaking of walls. And I sat there and I looked at my daughter and I thought, how old was I when I stopped feeling for people? Here's a woman who's so broken, and I apologize to my sons even to this day. My older children, even to this day, for that day. I apologize and I say, don't ever think your life is so important that you forget about those who are right in front of you who need you. And don't just offer assistance, be willing to get into their life. And be involved in their life to help them. Put aside your life for them. After all, isn't that what this day is about? The dignity of the person far above anything. Our convenience, our wealth, anything. My friends, this last song, my daughter, my beautiful little girl with Down syndrome, she was born with a really weak heart, a loving heart, but a tough physical heart. And she needed massive surgery at 3 months. So she had this surgery, and we didn't think she was going to live. And so I wrote this song in the waiting room. There's the longest 5 hours of my life. This piece is called Here I Am.
Here I am.
Okay, now I'm going to sing. Thank you so much. Beautiful. The event is over, technically, but please, whatever you learned today, whatever moved you, take it with you, and build upon it. That's what the day is about. It's about showing the truth, the goodness, and the beauty of our Lord and of our church. So please take it with you. Please visit us. Like I said, the Servants of Christ for Life has a table downstairs. If you want to give us your email address and stay in touch with us, we would be overjoyed by that. Stay connected to us somehow. And please go downstairs. All the artists are still down there. We still have food left. And think about your Christmas shopping. There's things down there that are much more worthy of your money than what you will buy in 6 weeks. So thank you so much for coming. Again, for Dr. Pachalski and Eric and his team, thank you so much.